Well, just feast your eyes on that. We are here at KSBA Santa Barbara, the airport lovingly modeled by Greg, better known on xplane.org as GPB500. And you can see the working airport surveillance radar, the beautiful custom tailored ortho, the custom building. And as we zoom in here, you can see the main terminal done up in the Spanish mission style that it is known for. Just get my cursor out of the way. You can also see the glass jetways which are there, and right there you can see my newest turboprop obsession or fascination. That is the Embraer 110 Bandeirante, and sort of in honor of the Olympics in Rio. And my boss has got a place down in rural Brazil where he spends most of his time when he's not putting up with me. And this, the Bandeirante, was Embraer's first commercial airplane to be of any note around the world, and it was designed in the 60s. It became widely used in the 70s and 80s, and it was probably taken for routes shorter than the one we're going. We're going to San Francisco just because it's nice, and it's another nice airport, but this was quickly superseded by the Brasilia, and the reason why is because this was not pressurized. It can certainly fly up to altitude, but you wouldn't want to do it. Maybe the military versions did, and maybe they had supplemental oxygen, but every Bandeirante flight I flew on was about a half an hour long and was between a big airport and a small one, or two small ones. Anyway, Dreamfoil made it, and you see the little Maltese cross here. That surrounds all these little elements here, so you can do a walk around. Make sure no nesting insects have made nests in our pitot tubes. I'm going to do this quickly. I did this flight once before, recorded it once before, but my microphone wasn't working, and you missed some really good rants. This is a little gizmo that keeps you from tipping backwards when you do maintenance on the airplane. And this is a very nice feature of it. It is very well modeled on the outside. There's some glaring omissions, and they've got a very neat little system here that lets you load fuel in the plane. So we've got 1400 there. Some of the click spots, especially on high res, which I am, are a little bit hard to find. Like this one right here is a little nebulous here. You gotta wait till it, gotta angle yourself just right, or you don't get it. So that's a little bit, there we go, a little bit screwy. Let's check and see if we got adequate fuel on this side too. No, we do not. So we just adjust this sucker up here and kind of click it over there. There we go. It's a little bit weird. In the cockpit here, let's just get, it's got another little one of those manipulators like so. And I saw this right here and I thought, oh, it's really cool. You can optimize it for if you've got a really good graphics card, say GPU, but no, that's the ground power unit. So let's turn on the ground power, and we'll take some external power here. Come on. Okay, what are we doing? Are we not doing it? The click spots, as I said, are a little bit funky. Okay, that is battery, but we don't want battery, we want the GPU. So that is off, and this, come on. All right. Beginning of my rant. The click spots are just a little bit weak. GPU actually on, please. On. Yes. No. I will bet you it cannot turn it on until the batteries are on. So now we'll turn the GPU on. And now it should materialize out there. And it does not. We're going to give it one more try, and then we're going to say, fuck you, GPU. Okay. Off. Now, external power, come on. Okay, turn it on. Yes. Yes. Give it a minute. Not there. Okay, we're just going to have to take it out back and burn it. We'll start off the battery. Alright, anyway, different from most modern planes, this is not a lights out panel. This is a lights on panel. So we have to start with our inverters on, and battery master switch should be on. Turn on the beacon because we're going to start up. Turn on the seatbelt signs because why not? Alright, that's all good. Get rid of our yokes. We can turn on our hydraulic pumps right now, and we need to turn on our fuel pumps, and there goes our fuel pressure. Probably goes up unrealistically quick, but there you have it. Power levers should be at disk, and the condition levers should be off. Alright, the startup's very simple. You just turn on one or the other, doesn't matter, turn it to start, and wait for 12% N2, which happens in about 18.5 nanoseconds, so you barely have to even wait. So we'll start 2. We'll look at our N2, and we're already above it. Move our condition lever up into idle, and watch the startup. It is very good looking and very good sounding, so. And the props even have a realistic dimensionality too. Alright, so we're good to go there. Let's just check our temperatures and make sure everything's fine. The one thing to check as you start up is to quickly check the oil pressure. If it does not come right up, you have to turn it off. I've never seen it fail though. Alright, so now start number 1. And again, in a matter of a second or two, we can move that up. And our oil pressure has risen. That is good. And it is starting up. As we do that, we'll move our condition lever for number 2 to max. Let that breathe its full song. We're flying up to San Francisco, and we're flying on an RNAV SID, and that, of course, brings me to my first rant, and that is that for all the effort that the X-Plane people spent on all sorts of things, including precision approaches, they didn't do RNAV SIDs and stars, and really what that means is that if you're on Pilot Edge or VATSIM, or if you were in the real world and this were a real plane, you could not legally fly RNAV procedures, which kind of blows goats. So it's apparently condoned on Pilot Edge just to load the waypoints in manually, and that's what I've done. Our SID is the Habit 5 SID coming out of here. I could show you it, except with this version of X-Plane and my video drivers, NVIDIA Share, whenever I switch Windows, reduces X-Plane to a crawl, so we're not going to do that. But it's basically flying runway heading, making a left turn towards the Gaviota VOR, and then proceeding on out, mainly to stay clear of those mountains over there, but also because over those hills at the moment there's a great big TFR, a temporary flight restriction, because there are firefighting operations going on, and we're going to be dodging that at 2 other locations coming up the coast. The other problem is that the arrival we're going to fly, the Surfer 2 arrival into San Francisco, while the most direct, and while the one that is ordinarily used on this route, which is flown by regional jets, which should give you some idea of the problem we're going to face, ordinarily calls for an altitude much higher and a speed much faster. but at the very minimum we're going to have to be at 13,000 feet, which is going to push our oxygen to the limits there. We really shouldn't be flying that high, but we're in good shape, so why the hell not? In the meantime, let us flip on our gens. Now watch what happens. This puzzled me for a minute. Flipped on the gens, Gen 1, Gen 2, and nothing happened. And I tried everything, and nothing happened. Well, you know what the problem was? These starters do not have an automatic cutout. And until they cut out, until you turn them off, they are taking the juice away, and it's not taking power from the gens, it's taking power from the batteries. So watch. Just going to flip this off. This lights up green, and our number 1 gens come on, and volts and current comes up accordingly. And we do the same here. That's how sort of old school this plane is. There's no automatic starter cutout. We'll turn on our taxi light, and we'll turn on our windshield lights just for the sake of bird protection. The rest of the ice protection we don't need, but we will use our pitot heat and passenger heat, and our pumps are on. That is good. We can turn our auto feather on right now. It's not going to light up until we get full throttle. Okay. Don't want a hot mic. Fuel quantity is fine. Cross feed stays off, and we can turn our air conditioning on and turn that to auto. Put our temps somewhere in the middle, and that knob works backwards. They just misprogrammed that. Some of them go backwards. Get some lights adjusted. The lighting is very good, by the way, and the sound is really good, as you can hear, I hope. So we'll turn the lights on here on the panels, and notice how tasteful they glow. Tastefully they glow. And merrily we roll along. I just bring those down a little bit. Down a little bit, and get a little mood going. There we go. The autopilot is rudimentary, and one of the beefs I've got is that this is so carefully aged and worn, it's almost illegible here. So while we're looking, we'll set our trim to about there. This plane is a bit of a pig to fly. It is not a speed demon. It does not turn smartly. And the ground handling is not really optimized. The developers didn't spend a whole lot of time with it. It's basically X-plane ground handling, which means it basically sort of swishes and skids and slides and basically sucks. Bring our condition levers to max. Our temps are all fine, and our route is plugged in, but there's an autopilot annunciator here which you can't see, so we'll stick it there, and I've got it bound to a hotkey. We're going to take off in heading mode. It does not even let you set a vertical speed. It simply pitches you up and down, and as you can see, the little arrow, the little hand that tells you pitch up or down is hidden by your mouse pointer, so that's also a little bit of a problem, but I figured out we can just do it anyway, so it's not that big a deal. It has approach mode, glide slope mode, back course mode, because there were a lot of back course approaches on during the day, and of course heading mode, which is how we're going to get out of here. Let us just scale ourselves down a little bit here. All right, and we'll taxi out to runway 25. A little bit of wind, not a lot. We're going to set flaps 25 right there. And that is pretty much it. It's a pretty easy plane to get going because it was designed for quick turns. So, of course, it would be pretty easy to get going. Alright, so we'll taxi on out of here. We might actually have to use beta mode to keep ourselves from going too fast. That's how exuberant this is on the ground. It's about the only place that this airplane is snappy. The rest of the time it's a little sluggish, and you have to stay way ahead of it on the power curve. It is very easy to get low energy in this airplane. It's easy to get high, it's easy to be fast, and it's easy to be low energy. One of the problems is that you have to get this slow to put down flaps and gear. That's one problem. And you're basically landing about here, so it's not like a dash where at 200 knots you can dump a notch of flaps, dump the gear, and before you know it, be slow as hell. It's also not like an MD-80 where at 280 knots you can dump the gear and come down. So right now I'm taxiing at 10 knots, and we're taxiing out to 1.25. There's a mighty dash. We are on the advice of a subscriber running real weather connector, but not running SkyMaxx to render the clouds. And that is, I'm just going into beta mode here to slow us down. And that is because of the problems that we had with SkyMaxx rendering low clouds. And you can notice that right here, it's having no trouble rendering low clouds on its own. The trade-off appears to be in frame rates. So, there's that. You know, I rant about certain things, and it's... sometimes you forget that this is a $59 piece of software with a $29 add-on and about another $20 for the weather. It's like the Louis C.K. routine. Everything is wonderful and nobody is happy. We're flying a replica of a real airplane on a computer on a desktop. And it's pretty damn good. And we're bitching about the details. On the other hand, the X-Plane developers are arrogant pricks, and they're slow to develop anything, and they're amateurish about a lot of stuff, and all the rest of that. So, having highlighted both sides of the coin, we will enjoy the fruits of their labor and be grateful for that. So let's just line up and wait, and we'll hate that default screech sound a lot. We will make ready to take off, be in heading mode. Our autopilot will capture the climb rate we're at. If that's a grammatical phrase, it probably isn't. We'll also turn on our transponder, even though we're just flying for fun here. And this is an awful. You can't. It's so weathered you can't really tell where the switch is. So I believe that is on, and we will squawk altitude. And everything else is good. You know what we can do, just when we're hogging the runway? I'm going to do that. Let's tune up Gaviota so that we've got that backing us up, and put that in nav 2. And take a look at our route here in Sky Vector, and Gaviota is, I want to say 112.8, but I probably got that wrong. Morro Bay is 112.4. No, Gaviota is 113.8. Okay. So we'll put that in nav 2 with our ridiculous little twiddly knobs, because there is no GTN 750. By the way, now that I'm ranting about how wonderful the GTN 750 is, the downside of it being a perfect replica of the Garmin and using Garmin's own trainer software, the downside, of course, is that in order to get current nav data, you have to subscribe to the real-world nav data, and that costs $1,000 a year. So while I'm bitching about one thing, it really, there's always something to bitch about, so never mind. Flaps are set, trim is set, lights are on. I wonder what this is. NAC landing gear. I'm not going to screw with that. Heats are on. Autopilot, as best we can set it, is set. Heading is set to runway heading. There we go. The procedure is to basically ramp this up until we get to as much torque as we can get, and not over speed the engines, not overheat the engines, etc., etc., etc. So, you all ready? Start the clock. You see the auto feather engages. Okay, we'll bring the torque up right about to there. Keep an eye on our temps. 80 knots is coming. Rotate just a little bit. Rotate right there. Up we go. And you can see it's not a stellar climber, but there you go. What are you going to do? We'll pitch, actually lower that a little bit, right about there. We want to accelerate to about blue line, so we'll let it speed up a little bit. In a second, we'll bring our props back a touch, but first, let's get our flaps up, get our nose down a little. There we go. Start to climb, and before we do that, we have to actually switch on the autopilot right there. And we want to engage heading mode, and there we go. Now it's going to capture our rate of climb. We can adjust it right here, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to nose it down 2 clicks, and now I'm going to start to bring our props back. First I'm going to bring our power back ever so slightly, and we're going to bring our props back to 91. Right about there. Alright, we're going to continue pitched like this, and we're going to switch into nav mode, and we're almost on the right track, just a little bit right of center. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to flip our DME here on and flip the DME here to nav 2, so we're tracking Gaviota. We think we're tracking Gaviota. Let's just check. Nav 1, nav 2. Not doing it. Oh, I see. The pointer's fuzzed. I don't know. This thing spins around, and I think it's pointing to nav 2, but for the moment, let's just make sure we're still climbing at blue line speed. And let's make sure that we're on track, and we are. And let's make sure we're not over speeding or over torquing anything. We are not, but let's give us a little more power, Scotty. Bring it almost up to maximum torque, and just keep an eye on the temperatures here. Alright, and now let's see if we can make our DME work. Probably not. Is Gaviota 112.8? Oh no, it's 113.8. moment there. Now, there we go. We are 8.3 miles from Gaviota. That is correct. And that is going to be our turn, and it is interpreting it as a fly-by waypoint, not a fly-over waypoint. That's fine. Let's see what we look like there. We look laggy and stuttery. Alright, now compared to SkyMaxx, the clouds are softer. They're less resolution, they're less individually defined, but they actually look like the real thing, whereas the SkyMaxx ones don't. The SkyMaxx things look like discrete lumps of cloud matter. And I think, in my humble opinion, that that's probably wrong. We have to be 6,000 feet by here, and we're going to get there, barely. Like I said, this airplane is not a speed demon. On the other hand, it's kind of fun. The landing speeds are a little high. The flap extension speeds are a little bit high. The turn rate, the roll rate, is a little bit low. What that means actually is when we fly it the next time into some kind of smaller airfield, maybe surrounded by a little terrain, what that really means is it's going to be fun, because it is not easy. Now that we're established in the climb, we can turn our auto feather off. We should do it in the middle of a turn. We can turn our prop sync on. We can turn our hydraulics off. Our boost pump off, that is. And we can tell the passengers they can go take a big Cleveland steamer if they want, and they can smoke cigars. Why the hell not? Alright, everything electrically is copacetic. Everything fuelologically is copacetic. Fuel pressure is fine. Hydraulic pressure is fine. Alright, we're caution panel is clear. We're pretty good to go. I'm just going to adjust the rudder trim slightly here. This is not as sensitive in rudder trim as the Mighty Dash is. The Mighty Dash has got much more powerful engines, and they are situated further outboard, and on top of that the airplane has a smaller rudder that is located farther away, so there's a bigger swinging moment in it. If I'm grimacing now, or if my voice sounds a little bit funny, it's because I just sampled. I don't eat a lot of sweets, and I consume practically no carbs. I'm basically fat, meat, and vegetables. And it's been very, very good for me. But I made the mistake of picking up a certain Lindt chocolate bar. And you know how chocolate has been trending over the years? First there was 70% cocoa, and then 80, then 85% cocoa, and Lindt then got 90% cocoa, and the idea being less and less sugar, more and more cocoa solids. Well, I saw on my corner deli shelf a 99% cocoa, or as it says on the label, 99% cacao. And I'm looking at the nutritional facts as I grimace here. Before we do that, we're just getting ready to go to Gaviota. We're going to climb up to 14,000 feet, and again, we cannot set an arm in altitude. We just have to stop at the right point and hit altitude hold. Anyway, Looking at the nutrition facts on the back here, it says total carbohydrates as we turn. Let me just adjust our in a second. Just crossing Gaviota, and you can see in a second this thing's going to go haywire. Looking at the nutrition facts, I see that it says 12 grams of carbohydrate, 7 of fiber, so the actual effective carbohydrates is 5 grams, which is practically nothing. And then I look at the serving size, and normally it's 1/3 of a bar. Sometimes it's even 1/2 a bar. This is an entire bar as one serving, and that tells me something. That tells me that they don't expect you to be able to even eat a whole bar. I ate 1 square of this, and I swear to God, it tasted more like an Alabama pig shit dinner. And let me tell you, I once went down to Huntsville to party with the folks from NASA, from the Redstone Arsenal there, where they make the rocket engines. And they had a real honest-to-goodness Alabama pig shit dinner. They had barbecued pig shit, they had grilled pig shit, they had breaded country fried pig shit with red-eye gravy, and sausage gravy too, for that matter. Sausage gravy. And let me tell you, the pig shit I consumed at that pig shit dinner tasted 100 times better than the piece of chocolate I just ate. And just for anybody who is A, from Alabama and offended, rightfully so, or from outside of the country and thinks that Americans are such incredible bumpkins, I will tell you that we will eat bull testicles. We'll of course eat chitlins, which is just a fancy word for pork tripe. But to the best of my knowledge, I do not believe there is such a thing as an Alabama pig shit dinner. Now, I say this as somebody who lived for quite a few years in North Carolina, and we made fun of Georgia. And I know people in Georgia make fun of Alabamans. And I know Alabamans make fun of Mississippians. And I know Mississippians make fun of Louisianans. So take it in that spirit. I mean no offense against Alabamans. I've had lovely times in Alabama, and I've had lovely meals in Alabama, and not one of those meals included fried, broiled, boiled, steamed, poached, barbecued, or grilled pig feces. I don't know what made me think of that. Probably because my friend Alan had an Uncle Bill, or Willie, and for some reason in the family he was just known as pig shit. And I mean, his kids called him pig shit. His wife called him pig shit. His colleagues called him pig shit. Dear friends called him pig shit. The neighborhood rabbi, his rabbi, would see him walking down the street on the other side and yell, "Hey, pig shit, how you doing?" So I guess that probably is what had me thinking of pig shit. But this thing here, 99% cacao, should actually say 99%. They should just drop the O, and they should just say 99% caca, and it would be totally accurate. If you're on a low-carb diet, I would highly recommend, instead of 99% caca, I'd highly recommend a couple slices of bacon, or maybe an avocado instead. Alright, so we are coming up on 12,000 feet. We're already breathing a little heavy here. And we are inbound Morro Bay. And after that, we will shoot over the Monterey Peninsula. That's Morro Bay right up there. and on into the San Francisco Bay Area, where we will fly the ILS approach to runway 28 right. And we can at least brief the weather right now. And I seem to have pushed the wrong thing on my iPad, but here we go. Alright, now we're going to be local altimeter the whole time. Okay, so we're 1,500 feet away from our breathtaking altitude of 14K. Morro Bay, which is not far from San Luis Obispo, which is another one of Greg's unbelievably beautiful airports, is 2993 clear. And let's see if the weather jibes with that. Let's just set local altimeter first. 2993. Go. And looks clear to me. There's our little marine layer out there. San Francisco weather is... So we'll just keep an eye on our airspeed. Before it decays too much, then we just nose down one notch. And again, you see it does it even though the indicator is hidden. The little hand is hidden behind the mouse pointer. Just going to come down another notch. We're not exactly climbing like gangbusters here. Alright, that'll bring the speed up. And our torque is all but gone now because the air is getting thinner. And I actually have to throttle back a little bit so we don't overheat. But weather in San Francisco should be... Ooh, Monterey is totally socked in. That would be a good place to try to land. San Francisco looks like it's about a quarter. 10-knot headwind coming straight down the runway. Few at 700, few at 1300, scattered at 18,000. 2994. All right, should be fun. And we are actually not very far from beginning of our star, so which again we've entered manually, and it of course doesn't have the altitude restrictions, so we have to do that ourselves. Again, we're climbing at about blue line speed, so it's a decent speed to lose an engine at, or at least it's the minimum speed to lose an engine at, and we just blew through our altitude while we were bullshitting around, so let's level off there at 14.3, and let's come back down to 14. Right, like so. Just nose down, and again, you can't set a vertical speed. You have to pitch down until the indicator does what you want. And it looks like it does it at about 250 feet per minute at a time per click. And now, in a second, we'll set cruise power, but we'll let this little descent here do some of our accelerating for us. Remember, our props are at about 91. We're going to bring it down to about 83. So first, let's just get down. And the reason why we're not descending anymore is because of the fugoid oscillation. We built up some airspeed and built up lift over the wings. And again, this will not maintain a rate. It'll just simply point our nose in a certain direction. And we will capture our altitude right there. Alright, so get up to cruise power, and cruise power or cruise props are going to be at about 80 some odd percent, and what that means is they will present a steeper angle to the wind. They'll take a bigger chunk out of the wind. That means the torque will go up, because the torque is not just a measure of output, it's a measure of force that the engine is working against. So we're going to give it more force to work against. The air is thinner, so the torque has dropped, but now we're going to take bigger bites of it. So watch. And if we were already close to redline here, I would reduce the power a little bit so that we don't over-torque the engines, but since we're considerably below that, I'm not going to do that because we don't need to. So let's just slowly reduce the props, and you notice the torque will climb very slightly. If we did this lower down, it would climb a lot more, because the air pressure, I believe, goes down, doesn't go down in a linear fashion, I don't think. Alright, so our torque has gone up a skosh, our temps are fine, our power levers, let's just go as fast as we possibly can without overheating, which is right about there. And we are now inbound Morro Bay, and let's tune in Morro Bay. And let's just that's our approach. Nearest intersection, nearest NDB, nearest VOR, and Morro Bay is 112.4, so we put that in our nav too. And we'll stick that sucker right there. Boom. And indeed, our RMI is pointing right to it, and if we really wanted to, verify things, we could turn our there we go. The inbound there. Boom. Boom. Or if we were being pedantic, we could spin it all the way around to here and discover that we're actually inbound on this particular radial, but that makes it very, very confusing. As far as I know, I think you always want to be pointed towards what you're pointing towards, or away from what you're going away from, otherwise madness ensues. Our heading looks squared away. Check our temps. Our ground speed is now no, I don't want to move the waypoint. Wrap. Not what I want to do. I don't want to do that either. I just want to go to our default page, which should be the map. Just to hold this in, it's supposed to take you to the map. There's the bloody map. No, I don't want to delete that. God damn it. That's loading weather now, so that's why it's jumping around. That's a little random line. They should do that on a background thread or something. There we go. No. Enter. Boom. no. Did not want to do that. I wanted to do this. And this. Would you please get me back to the map, please? Holding down clear is supposed to get you to the map. And it doesn't. Alright. Okay, that works. There we go. Now why pushing that before didn't work, I don't know. Let's try it in here. Maybe it was that it's in the bezel here and it's not registering the click. No, now it registers the click. Alright, well, go figure. And zoom out a little bit. There's Morro Bay, and as you can see, there's Morro Bay. Imagine that, and that is the Monterey Peninsula right up there, and then we're almost home. Almost away from home. Anyway, let's see how we look here. Let's do the obligatory, because you can really hear the sounds. They're beautiful sounds. There we go. And we'll do the flight sim thing we forgot to do. Do a proper flyby without the landing lights. You ready? Ready, flight sim fans? There we go. Not bad. The props are volumetric, as you can see. And also, let's just adjust them and watch them flatten out right here. See? Look at that. And by eye, we got it almost correct. Just give it a slight little zot right here. A little bit low on the hops. That's about right. And I believe that is Morro Bay. Never been there. Been all around it, but never been there. I don't know why. Probably because I always approached Monterey area from the north and always came into Santa Barbara from the south and never really got anywhere between them. Right, adjust our course. Adjust our heading. And now we have flipped and we're heading outbound from Morro Bay. 3.6 miles behind it, which really means that a little bit less because it's slant range, and you can see we're nowhere near maximum airspeed, so we got that going for us. Before we forget, might as well tune in San Francisco's localizer. It's 111.7. Dial there. See, in a moving airplane, this just doesn't work. It's ironic because in a moving airplane, the real Garmin with the knobs is very reassuring. You just grab a hold of it. It's big, it's tactile. It's a little convoluted with the menus, as you can see. And it's not as direct. It puts a few more layers of stuff in between you and information than the 750 does. But there are some pilots who initially were worried about the 750 being a touch dangerous with the touch because the plane moving around. But I think a lot of them have come around to it because it's just so damn nice. It's just beautiful. There's no way around it. It's magnificent. And I wish X-Plane had one of those. It would be one more reason to never screw with P3D again. I don't know. I'm just prone to ranting these days. And again, as Louis C.K. said, everything is wonderful and we are miserable. I'm sitting here in a fake plane in the sky, as he would say. I'm flying a plane over California from my desk. I should shut the fuck up and eat my 99% cacao. I still don't know where I came up with that Alabama pig shit dinner. I shouldn't even be laughing at it, but it just, well, if you can't laugh at other people, who can you laugh at? That's what my 2-year-old grandma used to say. She used to say, if you don't have something nice to say about somebody, come closer so I can hear it. She also said, before you ever say anything bad about anybody, you should first walk a mile in your shoes, in their shoes. And the reason is simple, because then if they get pissed off and they want to take a swing at you, you're a mile away and they're barefoot. So I rest my case. What is it S.J. Perelman said? Gossip is out one ear and innuendo? Oh. There we go. No gossiping for us, just the facts. And we're sneaking up on Big Sur here. What I love about the GTN 750 is we're coming up on an airspace. This is a MOA we're going over, military operating area. And we're just studiously ignoring it. I mean, if it were active, we might consider going around it. We'd have to talk to a controller probably to see if it's good and safe and if there's a way in and out and around it. If they were only operating here but not here, if they're high altitude, low altitude, you'd have to look it up in a chart to see when the active hours could be and who to get in touch with. Well, on the GTN 750, you just lay your finger upon it, and it pops up all the relevant information about it, who the controlling authority is, what the altitudes are, what the active times are, and it does that about all airspace. You just touch the damn thing. Aerobask apparently is working on a GTN 750. So they say, and they've shown some teaser video of it. It looks awfully nice. I hope it is available for other aircraft and not just theirs, because although some people love the planes they do, the Epics, the single jet thingy, I'm not crazy about it, but a plane like this with one of those, or a plane like any of the reality expansion pack Coronados with one of those would be just stupendous. Halfway decent autopilot, really great flight dynamics, a great FM, not FMC, but a great GPS, and you know, who could ask for anything more, as they say. Now on the 33-ish radial, and as you can see right there, that matches up with this, outbound from it. It's remarkable the different kinds of visualizations that each of these things gives you. This you have to transpose in your head where it is because the pointer stays fixed. This you know where it is with respect to your airplane because the pointer moves as your heading stays the same. This does a little bit of both, and you can see the displacement from a radial, and this of course just lets you look at it from the top and see whether you're on a highway in the sky. All these different things. HUDs do something similar. There are now things with synthetic vision that have little highways in the sky, and you fly through little boxes and things, sort of the way you did on the old flight sim, with that sort of cheesy approaches where you fly through those little red rectangles in the sky, those little gates in the air, and that would put you on course. And now they're coming up with sort of synthetic vision things that kind of do that. So the world is kind of come full circle. It's kind of cool. Anyway, I'm going to step away from the mic for 1 second. Just check our temps and our speeds and our position. And I'm going to get a glass of water to wash the 99% cacao out of my mouth. Stand by. Over some very nice scenery here. We're flying HD Mesh version 3. This is not ortho scenery. I've got some coming for my own area on the East Coast, and I'm learning how to use G2 XPL to build some, and of course getting my 15 petabyte disk farm to hold it all. But so you don't see a lot of population here, but you see really nice geographic features and coastlines and things like that. That's the Central Valley. We're coming in. Actually, you know what? No, I think that's the Merced River, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that. The other thing I'm not sure of, by the way, this is some nice little weathering effect here, a little bit of like different shading, beautifully transitioned here, little bits of grease and spray from the engine and the exhaust right there. That's pretty realistic. Washes of kerosene there, I guess you'd say. A little bogus texture there, but that could be my video card. It's probably my video card. I'm sure it's my video card. But all in all, pretty damn good looking. And the heat exhaust coming out of the engine, and the directional sounds there, changes when you go from there. This is very smart. This is very smart. Propellers act as line source radiators. It's the same reason why you can't hear a train when you're directly in front of it coming at you. It's why people get killed on railroad tracks. This propeller is radiating sound off in a wavefront this way and a wavefront this way. And when we're right here, those wavefronts form a null. It's like a figure of 8. So now if you notice, we move right there, and you can hear them again. And we move right there, and you can hear them again. But this sort of correctly models, I don't know whether that's deliberately or accidentally, models that kind of null that you get from a line source radiator. That is very sharp. That's why you should never, no matter how stylish they seem, take a picture of somebody or get a picture taken on a railroad track, because you will not hear the train until it is about ready to clobber you. Seriously. It's eerie. chocolate was stuck on the kind of roof of my mouth and just kind of came loose with a nasty little surprise. Anyway, I discovered that when I was hiking with a friend in western Pennsylvania on what I thought were unused Conrail tracks, because it was a point along the railroad which used to be the Pennsylvania Railroad's main line, although I didn't really know which track I found myself on. I didn't know I was on the main line. But it used to be 4 tracks all the way from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, and they narrowed it down at one point to 2 tracks, and I thought it was just a kind of siding there because it, well, we came out of the woods and we figured we'd get a little relief, just walk along the tracks, at least wouldn't have to be slogging through poison ivy. And we were walking east, and the train was coming east from behind us, and the engineer blew the whistle, and we jumped off the tracks, and I swear to God, we jumped off the tracks, and at a count of about 3, so it was whistle, jump, 2, 3, and a fast freight went right by us. And as soon as it went by us, it was all you could hear. But until it went by us, you could barely hear it at all. It was one of the scariest sort of discoveries about physics in my life. That's how sound waves travel. It's the same reason why, if you've got one of those fancy pair of speakers from a company called Magnapan, they're called Magnaplaners, and they look like room dividers, but they're speakers. And they're big, giant panels, and sound comes out of them, but they radiate in a figure of 8 pattern. So people like them because they don't produce a lot. They're easy to fit in your room because you can get them pretty close to a side wall, and they won't produce a lot of reflections off the side wall because they don't radiate that way. Well, they radiate that way, but each wavefront cancels itself out, so it's a null, an acoustic null right there. So a giant long train is basically the same. It's a line source radiator, and it almost killed me and my buddy Michael. We would have been Jew salad. Well, no, I would have been Jew salad. He, not being Jewish, wouldn't have been. He would have been lapsed Catholic salad. Anyway, to my viewer who gave me this tip, let me get his name right, because he suggested that, okay. Eric Elliott writes in, have you tried the same scenario without SkyMaxx Pro? Just the default X-Plane weather. I don't have SMP, never used it, but I just fired X-Plane, set the visibility to about, with the rest of that, to about quarter mile, cloud-based down low, and it behaved for me like P3D did for you. Yada, yada, yada. He concludes, so maybe it's SMP that really sucks at that sort of thing. Curious if you get the same results. And well, the one thing I noticed is that it's a little bit slower, and it's now laggy loading weather, and I just freaking hate this. They should spawn a background thread and do it there. Do something. Have a glass of milk. Do some fucking thing. I don't know. I don't care, but it shouldn't be like this. Anyway, Eric, thank you. Your diagnosis seems correct. We'll see what happens when we get closer to San Francisco, where the weather is supposed to be a little bit gnarlier. Let's plan our descent now, but look at how that fog fills in the valleys, just exactly as it really does. I will say that the weather clouds are not as high res, if that's the right term for it, but they sure are a lot more realistic, and they're not. They're also not reddish brown. They're not brick color. They're cloud colored. So sorry, SkyMaxx people. Your product's not there yet. But a lot of the other X-Aviation stuff is simply stupendous, so, you know, what are you going to do? Alright, so, our approach, we have to be at Menlo, which is our IAF, at 4,000 feet, so we have to come down 10, and that means we need 30 miles to do it. 30 miles from Menlo. We also need a little bit of time to slow. We've also got a couple shelves. We've got Eddy at 6. And so 30 miles is to swells. To Eddy is 9. It is 32 to Epic. But again, we're going to have to pause to slow down and pause our descent. So let us start descending about 2 miles before Epic. Right now on our star, our Big Sur is off to about 10 o'clock, and I've never seen a bigger Sur than that. Although, if it were a really big Sur, it would be displaying on the fast erection vertical indicator, would it not? I rest my case. Props are good, torque is good, temps are good. Navigation is splendid. Autopilot is behaving. Actually, for what it does, it's pretty good. I will say some of this stuff absolutely ignorant of the way a Bandeirante flies. I mean, obviously. My real-world flying experience is years ago a Cessna 172, more recently a Piper 6, and a decathlon, all of it either from the right seat or the back seat. Departures, cruises, no landings recently, a couple in the 172 a long time ago. I did a little bit of flight training. And so I have limited GA experience, but good sense memory for it. And a good, I'm pleased to say that I've got a good seat of the pants feel for flying, and that nothing could give me more pleasure, because it would be so, well, I'll give you an example. My whole family is pretty musical. My mother teaches flute. My stepfather was a concert cellist. A bunch of people in the family are really, really talented musicians as we come up on the Monterey Peninsula here. I tried to play the violin as a kid, tried to play the drums in college, and I love both of those instruments. I was terrible at them. And so there's nothing more disappointing than discovering you suck at something that you love and you'd love to be good at. And so, contrary-wise, the counterexample is I seem to be pretty good at flying an airplane. And that makes me so happy, because it is something I love doing, and it is something I'm good at so far. I love driving cars, and I'm good at driving cars. So there's some blessings here. I like flying fake planes, and every once in a while I'm okay flying fake planes. It's just, it is one of those pleasures in life. And it's such a So I write for a living, and I'm good at writing. I wrote for a living when I wasn't as good at writing, but I knew fairly early on that with some work I could be good at it. But I sucked like anybody else early on, but I got better, and I realized I'd chosen a good thing, and that I was enjoying the right thing. And lately, I've been discovering that I think I have, I guess you'd say, a teachable knack for aviation. He says as he bumps the stick and knocks the plane up and down. At least I didn't hit the trim switch like I did on the last flight in the 182 and never got the autopilot to engage. Alright, so our frame rate's not great here, and that might be a function of the clouds. And here, let's just, for yucks, let's see how SkyMaxx renders it. Turn on SkyMaxx. Plug in administration, enable, disable. Start up SkyMaxx Pro. Alright. Now, as you can see, it does two things. One is the clouds themselves are more distinct, more variegated, and that's very nice. They're a little bit more broken, and the one thing I can tell from this is they do not do good things with the boundaries with the ground. Although here, they are filling in the mountains a little bit, but it takes a longer time for them to render, and they don't extend, the horizon is not as far. You can look out here and you can tell, oops, that's the end of our weather, and then we're going to get some more weather. So they need to work on that. The frame rate seemed marginally better. Just make sure I didn't nudge my throttles. Props a little bit. Our temps are right on the hairy edge, but that's okay. Alright, so there's pluses and minuses here, and it doesn't do the low overcast very well. It just doesn't know what to do with the ground. Alright, so we'll switch back. See what it does to the frames too. And that goes away. Now obviously we've got no weather, so we've got to bring it back. That's our baseline, and actually there is Monterey. We're right over the airport. That's KMRY, and that is the Peninsula. And that X-Plane 10.5 is the newly rendered sort of dense autogen, and it does a damn good job. See, I don't bitch about everything. Alright, now we'll put our X-Plane weather back in. And grab it from the net, download it right now, get the latest. Try that again. Alright, now let's see what we can see. First of all, the horizon is extended further out, and I am hard pressed to say which is right and which is wrong at this point. That I don't know. The MEDAR from right here reads. Just get our instruments back up here so we don't blab and fall out of the sky. Kind of fly the airplane. Our weather right now, where we are, which is Monterey, is broken at 1,000, overcast, and I'm sorry, broken at 10,000, overcast 8,500, say, actually I don't have my clouds, I only have my clouds on 80%, so that also is a factor. Let's just rendering here, make our clouds 100%. Yeah, that's pretty reflective of our metal. But, you know, who knows? And as for performance, I don't even want to dick around with it right now. I'm having too much fun flying. Let's see what it looks like in a cloudy background, though. Get that good old Doppler effect going. The layers are a little bit samey here, so, you know, I mean, they're pluses and minuses, but for the SkyMaxx people to pretend that they know how to do it strikes me as implausible. It's the gentlest I can put it. And speaking of gentle, it does not turn us gently here. This is turning at a full rate turn and very kind of abruptly. Probably try to turn at a half-rate turn for passenger comfort. Alright, there we go. So, we are going to start ascending just short of epic. The way we're going to do it is we are actually just going to take ourselves out of altitude, hold nose down, and then actually we'll let the speed build up because ATC in the San Francisco area has a three-word motto. I don't know what it is in Latin, but it is very simply keep it moving. They'll keep you high, they'll keep you fast. They've got tons of traffic coming in from every direction to three major airports around there, San Jose, Oakland, and SFO. A shit ton of GA traffic. They've got GA airports that happen to be right on the edge of their Bravo. And one of them, KSQL, happens to be right on the approach path to the 28s. They've got erratic weather. They've got intersecting runway operations. They've got simultaneous approaches. They've got a lot of fun shit. And they've got a lot of international air crews, some of which are awfully good, and some of which, if you remember the Asiana crew, some of whom were unable to fly a simple visual approach on a perfect day in an airplane that is almost impossible to fuck up. And an airplane that every pilot I've ever heard, including a close friend of mine who flies one for a living right now, probably in the air right now, to tell you the truth. He's probably doing a New York to London run at some point here, or Barcelona, or some other points, but who said it is an especially pleasurable and benign airplane to hand fly. And I have to say, flying the PMDG 777, it's a pleasure to hand fly. I mean, it's intuitive, it's slick, it's beautiful. It does exactly what it says on the tin, as Rich from Flight Sim 480 would say. Alright, so I believe we just crossed Epic, so let's start going down. Yes, we have. Disengage, altitude hold, warning there. Nose ourselves down. Observe our descent rate. Observe our ground speed also. 251, we should be going down about 1,200 feet per minute for a standard rate descent. You do that by multiplying by 10 and dividing by 2, or multiplying by 5, so that's 2,500 divided by 2. Let's check our localizer, make sure that that is correct. Our localizer 111.7, course 284, that is fine. And I'm just glancing at our altitude restrictions. We have to be at eddy 6,000 or above. And we really want to be kind of close to that because otherwise we're not going to be able to get down from there. Alright, just zoom in our map. Pop up our flight plan, pop up our autopilot here so we can dink around with our descent rate. Let's get a little more descent going. We'll go right up to red line here because in Latin, as they say, keep it moving. Alright, so we've got 15 to eddy and we want to be a little bit above 6,000. Go down 6, we can really only go down 4,500, but what I'm going to do now is we're going to roll off the power. We're going to bring, that's loading scenery. Alright, we're going to bring our props now to climb about 90. Alright, it's loading scenery still, so it's jerking around. Come on. God, I hate you. There we go, we got it back. Gonna bring our props to about 91%. Please stop doing that. Oh, for fuck's sake. Alright, we're back. Thank you, X-Plane developers. All the priorities that you got, all the little shit that you had, be able to do some of this stuff in the background, please, and get procedures in your GPS. Alright, so this is going to let us increase our descent rate without overspeeding. We're 10 from eddy, and we are 3,500 feet away from it. So now we're closing in. And what we're going to do is when we get to just around 6,000 feet, just before eddy, we will level ourselves out here. And I am actually, since I don't want to jerk the passengers around, slowly decrease our rate of descent. So 7.5 from eddy, and we are now 2,100 above, so we're just about perfect. Now notice the air is getting a little bit denser and our rate of descent is decreasing. While we're at it, we've got 6.4 to eddy. Let's do this. Let's get our landing lights on. Everything else there is fine. Let's get our standby pumps on. When we get a little bit closer to 5.1 from eddy, and look at that. So we'll shallow out our descent right there. And we will, boom, hit altitude hold. And we will not bust our minimum. Roll in a little power because we're still pretty far out. And we'll keep moving. Anyway, when we get closer, we will turn the auto feather on and turn the prop sync off. And that'll be pretty much the extent of what we need to do. There's the San Francisco Bay. When we get inbound Menlo, we'll activate our approach. Alright, in a second we'll start going down again. Again, we will just nose our asses down. Okay, 1 mile away, we're 200 above. There we go. Get ready to go. 5, 4, there we go. Okay. And down we go, and we're going down to 4 at Menlo. Actually, swells, we have to be above 4.7, but that's not going to be a problem. What I am going to do right now is I'm going to set our course to 284, because that's going to be for our localizer. Okay, we'll roll off the power there because we're right at our red line speed. Look at that. We're playing this thing like a violin. And we're going at a nice little clip. We're going to level off right now, because we're not at Menlo yet. Whoa, a little bit exuberant there. Keep the speed up, and we're going to activate our approach, because we're now inbound Menlo. Okay. Keep the speed up a little bit more. And once we get to Menlo, we can come down a bit more. Get my approach plate up. All right. Seepin, we can be at 3. 2.8 from Menlo. I'm going to start going down again. Only this time we're going to go down a little bit slower. More stable fashion. Okay, we're in the airspace. And now I'm going to put us in heading select mode. Turn that off, turn this on. There we go. Flip over to our localizer. And again, I've turned my course selector in the wrong direction. Okay, 284 for the course. We're just going to wait for the localizer to come in. And we are heading down to 3,000 at Seepin. And that is where we should hit the localizer. So let's see how well we can do this. 4.1 to Seepin. Shallow out our descent a little bit. Our props to full. 3.5 to Seepin and 300 feet away. Just going to ease ourselves into this. From then on, we're going to be done with this. Thank goodness. Alright, there is 3,000. I'm just going to hold our altitude here so we don't break any laws. Feed in a little bit more power now. Keep our speed up. That's the San Mateo Bridge right there. And we are below the glide slope. Let's just arm our nav. Just wait till the needle moves. There we go. Nav is armed. Runway heading is set. We'll start to slow down to our flap extension speed. And it has not acquired our ILS. Alright, so let's get rid of that. Let's get rid of this. Let's fly the airplane. Let's get ourselves on the localizer. And now we're on our glide slope. We'll fly this visually. Okay, on our glide slope. Coming onto the localizer in a moment. There we go. I didn't acquire that, but let's see if we can make it acquire it now that we're very, very close. Autopilot on. Nav. Approach. I think it's got it. I just want to see how well it flies it more than anything else. Let's bring out our power. Give it a fighting chance here. Besides, we have to get... No? Alright. It's not doing it, but it's probably something I've done wrong. So let's get our speed down, bring out our first notch of flaps. It's got that X-plane balloon, which is sometimes accurate, but mostly not. And let's not land in between the two runways. And there's our headwind. I don't know why the autopilot would not engage. The right course tuned in. Alright, I hate being slightly below the glide slope. Hate it with a passion. It's a blot on my pride. Oh, I don't know what it is. Alright, now we're fine. Next notch of flaps. Get our airspeed down. There we go. In our gear. Settle us nicely. That's quite a headwind. Wow. Look at our airspeed and look at how slowly we're going over the ground or the water. The plane is a little nose happy, as are a lot of X-plane aircraft, it seems. But also, that's a function of controls. You know, using a joystick or something instead of a yoke, or you're using a SciTech yoke with that awful spring in the middle. Now, like any turboprop plane, we're really not going to pull off the power here. Go. And into beta. A little bit of a bouncy landing. Man, that beta works well, doesn't it? Flaps up here, and let's take a look at that little bounce fest there. Typical crappy X-plane ground friction. Rolls forward nice, slides forward even, slides sideways even nicer. the other hand, did you see how well it modeled the winds? That's very nice. The sim gods giveth, the sim gods take away. Alright, let's just set the parking brake here. And do a post-mortem off camera on autopilot. Woes there. It's not too bad to hand fly. As a matter of fact, it's kind of nice. Are many balloons out today, of course. Gotta turn that off. It's idiotic. Alright. A nicely modeled San Mateo Bridge. Nice and stable. Landed a little fast, but when you've got 11,000 feet of runway to deal with and a tiny little plane, you have a built-in excuse. We're going to fly this thing into Nelson. That'll be a challenge. Alright, so down we come. And let's see what see how we did here on the round out. There we go. Yeah, I'm a little fast. Still well within the touchdown zone. There we go. It's actually a little side to side rocking. Because, you know, if we're side-to-side rocking, don't come a-knocking. Let's get the Hawaii 5-0 shot, because... There we go. Try and get it right, just shy of the touchdown zone. I know the classic Hawaii 5-0 shot is right at the runway lights, but the plane is bigger in that case, and there we go. Okay. Everybody ready? Let's go. Oh, why did you freeze there? Oh, you motherfucker. Oh, you son of a bitch. Alright, well. No, I don't want to give my email address and comment. Yeah, no, let's do that. My comment is you suck. There we go. That's my comment for now. Anyway, with that, that's a nice watch. With that, I'll leave it right there. And we're going to take many more flights in this plane. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. Thank you, Eric Elliott, for the tip on the weather. And see you all real soon. Bye-bye.